Hello, welcome to the Villages, Florida. My name is David. I'm a realtor with Florida Realty Investments, and this is the show to watch if you want to know what's happening in the Villages real estate market. We take a look at what the long term trends are, we take a look at the differences between the different regions of the Villages. If you want to get up to speed on the real estate market here, this is the show for you. We produce this show every Monday. Make sure you check the date to make sure you're getting the most recent information. Secondly, all of this information is drawn from the multiple listing service. It does not include any listings from the Village's own internal listing service, the VLS. For those who are unaware, the Villages has two real estate marketplaces that are totally separate. The Villages VLS system and the multiple listing system, the MLS. The MLS is what you're used to seeing in other markets, and those listings can usually be seen on Zillow and other sites like that. But the point being, if you are a buyer in the Villages, you really need to have a Villages real estate agent and an MLS agent representing you. Keep in mind, only one of them will get paid. But if you don't have both, you won't be able to see everything on the market. Also, if you're a seller, you have to decide whether to list your property on the VLS or the MLS. You won't be able to list it on both. If you're a buyer and you're looking to get a good deal in the Villages, or at least get an idea as to what a good price for a property or region of the Villages might be, please reach out to me either at DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com or at our website, DavidisinFlorida.com. Concerning the website, please visit us. We're adding new content all the time. We'd welcome any engagement. And similarly, please consider liking or subscribing this video. It really helps us with our YouTube engagement. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at what's happening this week. We start every week by taking a look at what's happening with interest rates. This is the yield on the government 10-year note. This note yield most directly affects the mortgage rate. Looking at this, you can see that after rising dramatically over the last 2 years from about 0.5% to close to 5%, the 10-year note yield is currently hovering around 4%. We're looking at mortgages of around 7%. And we'll have to see what interest rates do from here. But obviously, if they go higher, you would expect pressure on the real estate market. Now we're going to turn our attention to the Villages real estate market. And what you're looking at here is a map. Every dot represents an active listing. The size of the dot represents the size of the property. The color of the dot represents the price per square foot. The larger the circle, the larger the property. The lighter the circle, the more expensive per square foot. And I'm going to show you the different regions of the Villages as I've broken them down, get an idea as to how many active listings there are currently in each of the areas. I would also point out that if you're a buyer or seller looking to do research, having a tool like this can be invaluable because we can zoom in on any area. We can look at properties available for sale, properties that sold, properties that went pending, and get a pretty good idea as to what a fair market price might be, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Now I'm going to show you how I've broken the Villages down into 4 geographic regions. This is the first of the regions. I'm calling this the northern region. It is everything south of 42 and north of 466, and it includes Spanish Springs. This is the area that I'm referring to as the mid-north. This is the area that I'm calling the Mid-South. It's everything south of 466A and north of Highway 44. And this is the area that I'm referring to as the South. This is the newest area of the Villages, and this is everything south of Highway 44. I would make note of the fact that if you are looking to buy in the South specifically, you really should be looking at properties both on VLS and on MLS. The VLS, I believe, has more properties for sale in the South than the MLS. You should be looking at properties on VLS and MLS, whichever regional Villages you're looking at. But in the South, I think looking at the VLS especially is important. Before we dive into the details on listings, I wanted to draw your attention to this shocking graph, which is basically showing you the activity level for mortgages. This is the mortgage purchase index, and you can see that we are down to levels that we haven't seen in 25 years. Even though, as you'll see, buyers are still enthusiastic here in the Villages, one wonders how long that can continue, especially if rates increase. So now we'll turn our attention to the villages itself. We're looking at a long-term chart here, and this is showing us how many active listings there are. This is a weekly chart going back 2 years now. And what it shows us is that the number of listings remains at an all-time high, 367, down from the 380 of last week, and slightly higher than the 353 of the same week a year ago. Properties available for sale in the villages currently range from just under 145,000 to $1.75 million. We're going to stick with long-term charts for a moment. We're looking at the median listing price per square foot for all listings in the villages this week, dropping to 258.62 from 259.72 and down from the 263.70 of last year. Looking at this graph, it's becoming hard to escape the conclusion that prices per square foot are heading lower here. This is the last long-term chart on listings before we take a look at the individual regions of the villages. And what we're looking at here is how enthusiastic buyers are. The median time on the market for all listings this week is 43 days, about the same as the 44 days of last week and about the same as last year. Now we'll take a look at the individual areas of the villages. As you might recall, I've broken them down into north, middle south, and south. All regions is the entirety of the villages. And you can see that there are 376 listings in the villages, median size 1527, median price of 380. In the north, 182 properties for sale. In the south, only 32. In the north, the median price for the properties for sale is 340,000. In the south, it's 405,000. We're going to take two more looks at listings broken down by region, get some idea as to how many properties are available. What you're looking at is a graph showing you how many properties are available in each of the sizes in the villages. All regions, I've narrowed the graph down to between 1,000 and 2,000 square feet. You can see that in the villages as a whole, there are 88 properties that have been on the market for over 100 days. In the north, 50. In the south, only 3. One more look at all listings. Here we're looking at the distribution throughout the villages. You see it color coded. So, for example, at the very top on the left, you see the $300,000 to $400,000 price range. The 31 is the number of properties in the mid north in that price range. 10 is the number in the mid south in that price range. 94 in the north and 13 in the south. And here we come to a very interesting graph. This is the difference between new listings and homes going pending. The numbers you see are actual data points. The graph is a smooth 4-week average. The black line is the number of homes going pending. The red line, the number of new listings. Obviously, if there are more homes going pending than being listed, that would imply a market that was strong. If there were more new listings than homes going pending, that would imply that the market should be weakening. Looking at this week, you can see that pending home sales are hanging in. They've increased from 42 to 53, even as new listings have remained basically unchanged at 50. New listings are exactly the same level that they were a year ago. We do think this chart is worth paying attention to. This is the difference between new listings and pending home sales. Any number higher than the dark blue zero line means that more homes are going pending than are being listed. Numbers below the line mean that more homes are being listed than going pending. As long as we stay around the zero line, the market should remain in balance. Here we take a closer look at the homes that went pending last week. We're looking at the median price per square foot, down last week to 260.45 from 267.91 the week before, and barely above the 255.75 that we saw the same week a year ago. Once again, keep in mind the graph is a 4-week moving average, but the numbers you see are actual weekly data. We'll keep looking at pending home sales from last week for a moment longer. This is how long they were in the market, a median 34 days compared to 21 days for the week before, and compared to 27 days on the market a year before. Here we look at the median price change for the homes that went pending last week, a median reduction of 4.18% compared to a reduction of 4.78% for the week before. That 45% number is not correct. It should be a 5.01% reduction the same week a year ago. And now we'll take a look at the number of sales, which jumped last week, almost doubling to 53 from only 27 the week before and only 33 the same week a year ago. This is about the highest number of weekly sales that we've seen in the villages over the last 2 years. Homes that closed last week ranged in price from 245,000 to 1,675,000. For those who care, the property that closed for 1.675 was originally marketed at 1,850 and it was only on the market for 11 days. Here we take a closer look at the homes that sold and closed last week. The graph is showing us a 4-week average. The data points are real numbers for the week. Last week, homes that sold, a median price of 253 a foot compared to 247 this for the previous week, and about the same as the 250 that was in effect a year ago. And here we look at how long homes are on the market before closing. This is the median time on the market for the homes that closed last week, 29 days compared to 18 days the previous week and compared to 54 days for the same period a year ago. So now we return to taking a look at the villages as a whole, and we're looking at all listings and how many have decreased their asking price from the original listing price. 56.38% of listings have reduced their asking price compared to 58% last week, but this is still higher than the less than 55% having to reduce their listing prices the same week a year ago. And the percentage of decrease also seems to be increasing. This week, the median decrease for all listings is a 4.52% reduction compared to a 4.32% reduction the previous week. And I would note that this reduction is even higher than the 4.46% reduction that was in effect the same week a year ago. That is this week's look at the village's real estate market. If you want to be informed about what's happening here, if you want to get an idea as to long-term trends and the differences between the different regions of the villages, if you're a buyer who's trying to determine a good price per a property or a seller trying to determine the best price you can get in a reasonable period of time, please reach out to me either at davidisinflorida@gmail.com or at our website, davidisinflorida.com. Be happy to help you, be happy to answer any questions you have. Hope to hear from you. Take care.